Hello and welcome back to episode 10, part 2 of Unfettered. We were not just talking about dragon digestive systems. Zerai pushes one of these doors open. And inside you see a crimson and golden room with like lanterns hanging from the ceiling, and way down at the end you see a man in honestly pretty understated, at least compared to everything you've seen so far, silk robes, sitting on a raised platform in like on some pillows, and as Captain Albert Vessinger loudly opens a can of soda, Zerai leads you guys down the carpet and says in Draconic, your Eminence, the great god dragon of the golden anvil, Boozer, these mortals have come to you with a request from the mortal lands, and
I'm going to do a formal bow.
This is as you're walking up.
Okay.
So like walking down the aisle, for lack of a better term. Zerai is saying this.
You've grown up so much, Constance.
And then like halfway into the room, Zerai stops and says, Your Greatest Majesty, will you accept their request and allow them to come to you and what is it? Speak their mortal words upon your holy ears.
I'm sure I'm glad I don't understand Draconic.
I'm just gonna hear like, I know Draconic. I'm gonna have to be a translator this entire conversation.
And
Oh,
that's right.
The man way down, and he looks human, interestingly enough. Sort of tilts his head. Where did they hail from?
Is that in Draconic or?
No, in common.
Yeah. So Vessinger is going to bow. Captain Albert Vessinger.
Zerai like turns their head and.
Oh.
They come from lands where they claim they are oppressed by the Molish. And Boozer arches an eyebrow. Very well. I will hear what they have to say. Come forward.
All right, let's just walk forward one leg. All right, just move the leg.
Yeah, and it's like it's a good, I don't know, 60 feet to get within speaking distance of him instead of shouting down this hall. And as you approach, you notice that there's also there's a second figure sitting next to him in a also silk robes, but in silver. She's a woman who also appears human, with her hair done up in a bun.
This isn't terrifying.
Nope, we're gonna get ripped in half. That's what I hear.
There are no other people in the chamber. There are no guards.
I'm going to assume. I know dragons are magical. I'm going to assume that these may or may not be either dragons or emissaries of dragons. So either way, they're basically dragons.
I heard that intro. I'm not questioning it.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah. I'm just.
So Vessinger walks up, gives another bow. Your Highness.
Your great holy
Your great
dragon.
holy dragon.
This?
This lowly one is Captain Albert Vessinger, one of the few leaders of our organization. We speak for those few lands that are suppressed by the Mullish Empire, and we've come in the hopes of achieving. What am I saying next?
Achieving a.
In an offering of peace. We can just assume that was one flowing sentence.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Your charisma's high enough that, as a character, not as a real human being, but the woman next to him speaks up and says, I, Gula, god dragon of the silver censer, accept your offer of peace. And
I'm gonna like bow.
She turns to like the next person down the line.
Yeah. I think that means you, Constance.
Draconic, Rusty. So I start in Draconic. I am Constance Stormheart, the Eternal Storm. Messenger of the Rookmara, coming on behalf of the oppressed lands.
There's no K in Rumara, just as a reminder.
The Rookmara?
Nope, Rookmara.
The Rookmara.
Okay.
the Rumara. And we come here looking for peace. Look at this room again. Yeah.
Yeah, like your voice echoes off of the walls and the ceiling.
As Constance is like talking haltingly, you see like a cold sweat lightly start up on her. Like
you don't even like know what she's saying because it's in Draconic.
Do you show any physical deference? Do you bow or kneel or what? Or do you just stand there?
Man, what would Constance do?
As soon as he noticed Constance not bowing, Vessinger with his hand makes her back, does
puts a hand on her back and just pushes.
Yeah, just like
I feel like you just push her over. And so she's just on the floor after that.
Yeah, so you like go down onto your hands and knees and like this accidental.
No, like flat on the face.
No, he wouldn't push all the way.
Let me put on my GM voice. Are you sure?
I'm not. Vessinger would not push her all the way down.
He wouldn't push all the way down. So I guess let's stop after I'm like awkwardly like being pushed forward and stumbling.
He tries to do it as subtly as possible. He's a rather nimble person.
Okay. So I mean, it's pretty clear, I imagine, that Albert is like trying to get Constance to be somewhat graceful, and maybe we get an awkward half bow and a stumble.
Yeah.
And then Gumsees steps forward and like puts her hands together and bows just a bit at the waist. I am Gumsees of Maradun. I speak as much as I can for my people and for the elements that guide them. And Boozer, like, he's a little overweight, but not exceptionally, and he sort of like settles backward into his cushions. What would you ask of us, Vessinger, Stormheart, Gumsees?
We would never be so presumptuous to ask anything of a god. We are merely here in an attempt to dissuade you from the words of the Mullish. They are deceitful and not to be trusted.
I think this is a really good time for the Imperials to show up. So the door to the chamber opens once more, and you see a man in a curt imperial uniform stride into the room, along with a couple attendants. Most of them are sort of like not worth mentioning, but one of them specifically stands out. He stands at about 6.5 feet tall. His body is covered in fur, his hands tipped in claws, and his head is that of a wolf. He is wearing also an imperial uniform, following the well-kept fellow who strides in.
See, the Imperials have werewolves?
Your holiest eminence, I must advise you not to listen to these three. They are revolutionaries, dissidents, sowers of chaos. They seek only to destroy. And Gula holds up her hand. You shall speak in turn, Aiden. He stops short. Of course. I apologize for my presumptuousness. But, and he turns back to Boozer, you must know. These people have been bringing terror to the people of my empire for these past months. They have killed many. And each time they leave mocking messages. They have no respect for authority or order.
All right. I like Vessinger takes a moment and then and then kind of like raises his head up a little bit. If I may have a chance to speak.
Yeah, they'll allow it. Also, I misspoke. His name is not Aiden. His name is Pontius.
I'm not remembering any of these names,
That's
so
fine. It's more for the viewer's sake than yours, so that when they hear me say his name later, they're not like, "Wait, but he said."
Okay. So, Vessinger kind of like raises his head up. I would dare not make any proclamations as to the truth of anything, but there is one thing that must be known. This empire is. We are not good people. That's for certain. We try our hardest to fight for the people that we represent. We try and stand up for the rights of the people of free people of Hersagul, and we are not without fault. However, the empire is like a horde of locusts. Look at the lands of Maradun, once flourishing. They are now kept in servitude. They have been mined of all of their. They've been mined and wrecked of all of their resources. Their people are practically in bondage. Look at the manner in which they raid the continents of the wildlands. Do they have no shame? The elves are burned and destroyed. The elvish civilization has been burned and destroyed, killed and slaughtered without end. What little killing we do, they do tenfold in a single day. What we've done in all the time we've had. We seek justice. We seek true order, not just this thing that feasts off of our lands. My apologies, I spoke out of turn. But truly, I insist, these people are not to be trusted. They seek only to use things.
Boozer sits up. You speak truthfully, Ambassador Klein. Chaos is not a force we can abide. And you should know, of course, from our history, but you should know also that we do not appreciate being manipulated. Our will is our own. And he turns to you. As are our lands. We will not stir from the Dragonhold. Not for you. Not for them. Not for any mortal.
Constance is smiling at this point, like, we won!
Yeah, you hear a sigh from Gemses, and like her shoulders drop like an inch. Your greatness, I must request that I will hear none of this. I have made my decision. But of course, because nothing is ever that simple.
Wait, what?
There is a loud. There's a booming and a rumbling from outside the hall.
Oh no. I look. Okay, we're here, so it wasn't us this time, right? I look at Gamses.
Imperials.
Right? Wasn't?
Yeah, you see, Gemses has she was standing in like this respectful but confident stance. She's like sort of cautiously widened her feet to shoulder width and turned her hips toward the door, and she's like looking back and forth at the corners of her eyes from the dragons at one end and the Imperials at the other.
I'm just gonna sit there and be like,
yeah, I'm just gonna like look over to where the explosion was and then return my attention to the conversation. You know,
there's so there's this like rumbling sound, and then this like sound almost like a chorus but played in reverse.
Oh no.
And then there's silence. And then the doors swing open, and you see a group of 5 individuals, also wearing robes similar to those of Boozer and Gula, and a woman at the front, her eyes glowing an eerie green, wearing a black silk kimono, strides in, leading the group. Ah, Boozer, you spoke too soon. Have you forgotten that this is no longer Dragonhold? These are the Draconic Isles. We make decisions together. Ilati. I cannot say it's a pleasure to see you again. Do you object? And I think back in the hallway, like the doors are like slowly closing, and you can see Etlu standing down at the entrance, his head like leaned into the hallway, looking after the entourage, I suppose. I do, in fact, have a counter offer. You would see that we stay here, while the world continues without us, forgets us. I propose we leave Dragonhold. We are gods, and the lands around us are sadly godless. I think. And she walks toward the ambassador and puts a pointed nail under his chin, and you can see like a drop of blood run down her finger. The Imperials have an interesting idea. She flicks the finger back toward her, and like a small spray of blood hits the carpet, and the ambassador puts a hand to his chin to staunch the flow and gulps nervously. I say we fly from the Draconic Isles, all of us. I say we bring dragon fire to the mortal lands, so that they can know once more who the real gods are.
That is a proposal.
You see Boozer gritting his teeth in frustration. And who would you have champion your cause in the trials? Oh, since it's for them, of course. She puts a hand on the side of the ambassador's face, and he like flinches. The Imperials will suffer through the trials, yes? Won't you? Good. And you, Boozer, who do you call upon? Boozer looks down his nose at the three of you.
We're about to
Yeah.
Cool.
I like you see Vessinger kind of like tidy up his collar, straighten his back, like roll up his sleeves a little bit, slick back his hair.
I suppose it is only appropriate that these mortals who came to campaign against the Empire stand for themselves. You accept this charge?
I could ask for nothing less.
Yeah, this sounds okay.
Yeah, there's like there's a little bit of fire leaking out from Gamsee's palms, like going across, like through her fingers and back over her knuckles.
Oh, this is we're going against Imperial. This is what I'm good at. Dragons, they terrify me, but oh, mortals.
Then you shall have time to prepare. And to
You
say
see
your
everyone,
goodbyes.
our entire party was about to like draw their weapons and start fighting out. Yes, yes, time to prepare.
Prepare, like yeah, like. Oh.
Yeah, it's like gearing up.
And
Just
say
like
your
throwing it
farewells
in
to your mortal attachments.
How do we say farewell to my ships? They're so far away.
Farewell.
Yeah.
Sorry. No,
So-
I didn't see it.
At some point during all of this, I'm going to try to make eye contact with the silver dragon,
With Gula? Okay.
Gula. And does she notice at all, or just
Sure, yeah.
And I'm just going
let's
to
see
try.
where this goes. There's no way this could go wrong.
I have this ability.
Oh dear. Oh no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Please.
I'm just going to be like, if I may have a word, your holy dragonness.
She scowls when that happens and whispers something to Boozer,
No, why
but
would you
does
do
not
that?
respond.
Damn it. This one?
This negotiation is ended. The Imperials can find their way back to their chambers. To you, Zerai shall guide you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your grace.
This is not good.
Now be gone.
We'll like. Albert will bow again and then follow Zerai
Yeah,
out.
the Imperials all bow, and you can see the werewolf as he bows, like his lip curls.
Yeah. Like as we kind of like walk out the door, like you know, Albert's acting very like deferential, and then he like makes eye contact with one of the Imperials and just has like this smug grin, like.
Yeah, I think you can like walk past each other outside the chamber, and the werewolf turns to you. So it's true. Turned turncoat, Vessinger. And you can sort of recognize the voice. You're not necessarily sure from where, but you know it. If you would like to actually know who it is, you may roll a history check.
Well,
Attempt to remember.
I'm gonna fail this check. All right. Let's not be that down on it. I believe in myself.
Waiting for it.
7. Ooh.
Oh! Nope, you have no idea. You are at a disadvantage here.
Well, it seems like I'm not the only one that's turned. Now, if you'll excuse me.
He grins and shows like orange stained fangs.
We have ways of fighting. Yes, okay. Yeah. Well, This is lovely. Make sure you tell your commander, Malachi, that you saw Constance Stormheart.
Well, it'd be rather hard to tell him from the grave.
The
I'm sure
ambassador
it's
the ambassador turns back to the werewolf. Leave them, Admiral. We have other matters to attend to.
Yeah, we're
And the envoy, which is the word I was looking for earlier. The envoy of Imperials head off down a side passage. The group of dragons you can see now. There are. Did I mention how many? There are 5 of them.
Yeah.
a lot of them, yeah.
Wearing.
It's just kind of like, I'm gonna die either way. What does it matter if there's 2 things that could kill me or 3 things that could kill me?
Also, I misspoke. Ilati's kimono is green. So there are 5 of them wearing green, black, blue, red, and white robes. The one wearing the red robes has like a healing wound across their neck. And is like will not take their eyes off of you. They are just scowling.
He's going to eat.
We're gonna have to succeed at these trials, is what I'm getting.
Of course.
Zerai like coughs and holds a hand off to sort of like gesture. Shall we go this way?
Yeah. So Zerai, what are these challenges we just got signed up for?
Well, there are 5 of them. One for each of the pairs of the gods.
I figured as much.
Which order they come in is, I suppose, will be determined. However, you will have 10 days before the first one to prepare yourselves.
So, pardon my rudeness, Zerai.
Yes.
Might I know the method by which these trials are conducted, or is that a matter of holy sacredness?
No, that is a matter of common knowledge. Forgive me, I forget that you are not from here. They smile, like that was clearly a joke that is funny to them.
Yeah. we'll like laugh along. I've got wings too. Hey.
Trials of war, craft, magic, wit, and knowledge shall be laid before you. For each of them, 1 or more of you shall compete against 1 or more of the chromatics representatives.
Well,
the trial of war is frequently a measure of combat. Trial of magic, one of mystical skill. Craft, I would think, is fairly self-explanatory. Whereas wit requires you convince, and knowledge requires you gift a secret. In my mind, the simplest of all of them.
Well,
for each of them, you must impress the gods.
I think I have a great secret.
And they walk you up to a door and open it. These shall be your rooms. The door opens onto a gleaming courtyard with a pond set in the center, flush with the stones of the courtyard itself. And growing out of the pond, there's this like gnarled tree, and along each of the walls are a set of doors. Zerai pulls a bell out from their robes and hands it to whoever is closest. Should you have need of any assistance, I will be nearby.
Can I ask a question before you leave?
Yes.
We have 10 days. Your lands are beautiful. I am wondering, how much we are allowed to see, or if we should stay confined to our room.
You may stay here, or you may leave the Draconic Isles as you please. However, which islands you may go to really is dependent upon the dragons that rule. And should you not return on the 10th day, your claim shall be forfeit.
Well, dragons eat our world. And would any of these islands have libraries? Any that you might suggest, or that would be accessible by us?
Unfortunately, the greatest library would be that of Sataru, but as I'm sure you saw out there, it's not the most sympathetic.
I don't remember.
Sataru, god dragon of the sapphire quill. Would you perhaps...
Chromatic.
Would you
My
perhaps
apologies.
want to know of all of the god dragons?
That would be helpful.
Introduction would be in order, yes.
I
Our
see.
apologies.
I'm actually going to make a handout for this so that you guys don't have to remember them.
Why roll rolls when you can just have our helpful guide tell us?
I should probably know this for some reason.
No, actually, most people in Hersagul do not know all of the god dragons.
Most people in Hersagul don't know Draconic.
Also that. I feel like I already have a handout for this somewhere. Ah, yes. It's called The God Dragons.
God dragons' names would be like really important facets of the language. At least the way it's spoken in Hersagul. Maybe not. I'm not.
Alright, it is in y'all's journals now. It's right at the top of the handout section, titled The God Dragons.
Okay.
And they're separated out into... Actually, one of them is slightly incorrect. Fang, not tooth. There, fixed. And there's a typo.
Guided in by a god dragon.
Yeah.
I'm glad we acted really differential. That was smart of us. We're smart.
Yeah, so Zerai will specify the 10 dragons, and I will say their names briefly for those watching on YouTube who don't wish to go look at the handout. The metallic god dragons are Boozer of the Golden Anvil, Gula of the Silver Censer, Magan of the Brass Compass, Etlu of the Bronze Sword, and Zu of the Copper Fang. Then for the chromatics, there is Alati of the Emerald Scepter, Mursu of the Obsidian Sickle, Sataru of the Sapphire Quill, and Abatu of the Ruby Spear, and Saru of the Diamond Sextant.
So it's my understanding of chromatic versus of different color strengths. The fact that we pissed off Abatu was very bad. Very, very bad. But everyone else doesn't matter by comparison.
Piss off. We existed.
Yes, true. The other one, the strongest one already hates us. Who gives a shit? And that Boozer really doesn't like us either. Tell him we don't have any favors in his book. Well, this is going to be rather rough then.
What would you like to do?
I'd like to ask which islands are controlled by the...
Yeah, by which dragons?
I, as a GM, have not picked which ones go to which.
But we have that information.
Yeah, Zerai will let you know.
Okay, well, so libraries on the red. Really, no one else has?
Yeah, library is on the Blue Dragons Island.
Do you think we could negotiate with it?
No. It's a true god. We have no negotiation power. Well, your help has been greatly appreciated, Zerai, if you would like to take your leave.
If you wanted information on the trials, there are some scrolls in the library here.
Could you guide me to that library? That one sounds much more accommodating.
Yeah,
Zerai
I'll
nods.
I'll set things in order with our companions.
Yeah, you also don't speak Draconic, so I feel like I have an advantage here.
Yes.
Yeah, so Zerai will lead you away from your suite to a modest library. It's probably on par with the greatest library Constance has entered.
But that may not be saying much.
Meanwhile,
I am educated.
I think evening is starting to fall, and Albert, you and Gamzes can settle into your rooms. There are several rooms off of this courtyard. It's clearly meant to like entertain an entire envoy.
Yeah.
With like servants and multiple nobles and whatnot. The pond in the center has some like impossibly large fish.
Well then.
Like freaking, I don't know, big for koi anyway. Like I don't know, good 6 feet long or something.
That koi is going to try to eat you if you jump in there. Don't jump in there.
I'm feeling rather famished.
What are you gonna do, Albert?
So as for what I'm gonna do, Albert's probably gonna start getting in contact with the other members of our crew because we may or may not be needing their assistance. Via the sending stones.
Yeah, so I think we see in our TV show version, like we got a bit of a cold open on this episode. It's been 2 weeks. It's been 14 days since the last time we saw the party, and we just came up on Albert, Constance, and Gamzes, and that's it. So I think this is the point in the TV show where Albert goes back into one of the rooms and settles down, and we see him pull out one of the sending stones. Who are you contacting first?
That sounds like we need a commercial break to find out exactly what our decisions are going to be. Maybe you should start by handling out Constance's stuff.
Okay. So we get like a shot of the sending stones, and then we go back to Constance. And we see Constance and Zerai walking through the halls of the Palace of Majesty. And as you walk, Zerai makes some small talk. It is quite a bold move for a mortal to approach the god dragons.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot more like the Rumara. The spirit of Maradun.
You've spoken with the Rumara?
Yeah, twice now. First time I didn't think it was a god. I thought I was conning a spirit.
Zerai raises an eyebrow.
It sounds worse than it was. I was dying in a desert. My wyvern had a broken wing. It was probably
had a wyvern, a drake.
Yeah, well, had. It was shot by the Empire.
You possessed.
Well, bonded.
I see.
Wildlands tradition.
The library is just through this door.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Of course, and you can find your way back to your rooms?
Yep. Left, right, left. We're good.
Then I shall take my leave. And so we see Constance walk into this library, and it's in one of the towers. So it goes up maybe 100 feet, like 10 stories. And it's just, it's not very big around necessarily, but the walls are just lined with scrolls and tablets and books in no discernible order.
I'm gonna be here for 10 days.
And I think we get a memory at this point. Like maybe as Constance pulls one of the scrolls down and rolls it out to look at it, we fade or like side pan to a differently color graded shot, and we hear and see a young girl crying. We can see through the window of the bedroom that she's in that it's nighttime, and she's pulled her blankets up to her, and she's leaning up in like the corner of the room crying. And the door opens, and we see a form silhouetted in the light that looks maybe vaguely familiar, and then the figure walks forward, and it's an elfin man, and he sits like down on his knees in front of the girl. Shh, 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 shh. It's okay. It's okay. It was only a nightmare, Constance. And this man is Tonaldo Kent, and he puts a hand on, like, brushes Constance's hair out of her face. Do you want to talk about it?
It's the same every time.
I understand. It's not easy. And he leans back against the wall with young Constance and grabs a book from a small bookshelf and starts flipping through it, and he's like flipping to pages with pictures on it, just sort of idly, so that there's a thing for Constance to look at. Life is full of difficult moments, and there's really no way to avoid that. Of course, we try to put it off as long as we can, and it really is a shame that you were given the hand you were given at your age. But allow me to tell you what my mother told me when I was growing up and I faced hard times. Everything must end, Constance. And no matter how eternal the pain may seem, someday it won't be there anymore. And it'll be a reminder and a memory. All things must end. And he like kisses the top of her head. Ready to get back to bed?
I think that, like, you notice that she's already slumped over.
Yeah. He smiles and picks her up and puts her in bed. I really need to talk to your mother. He looks out the window. Someday I hope this war ends too. And I think we cut to our break there. So we're going to take our second break. We'll come back for part 3 of Unfettered in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Bye.